I got with my mom and I'm like, you're always throwing these fabulous parties for my brothers. And I was like, let's start, an event planning business. So at first it was literally a hobby. It was, when I tell you, we started from the bottom. I mean, we started from literally started from my mom's basement. and we were just doing stuff, and then for me, it's always about mindset and just being willing to learn. So we started, talking to people locally that was actually in event planning and design. And we started taking workshops and courses and just started to learn and work on our craft. And that's pretty much kind of how I've gotten where I am now, is just putting in the work.
Nice.
What up, Doe Black Friday family, and welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. We are continuing my Big Fat Detroit Wedding series, and of course, I'm joined with none other than Mrs. Turner. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and we have a superstar in the building, somebody who was able to take the vision that we had and that we sought out for the wedding and actually bring it to life, to make this whole thing an extravaganza and a festive event, to say the least. None other than Shaneia Caldwell of MPQ. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to move this a little bit closer to you. There you go. Well, thank you for joining us today. We definitely really appreciate it. And then, like I said, you truly was the person to be able to bring our vision together for the wedding. So it wouldn't have been possible without you and all the other dope vendors we got a chance to work with. So we had to have you here and learn more about you and your MPQ, and Shaneia the person.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I have to just piggyback on that. The amount of reviews and feedback that we have gotten about our wedding, specifically the reception decor, people like family members like, yeah, I've been showing pictures of your wedding to people. And it's like, okay, like, thanks. It's like, yeah, I just had to show them like, the floral arrangements and this and that. And then like, we've been places that's like, yeah, somebody was talking about your wedding at the beauty shop. Or somebody, one of the groomsmen was like, yeah, I was at work. Somebody was like, man, it was a fire wedding at Easter Market. He was like, they was talking about your wedding in third person. He was like, I was there. So, thank you. Nothing but rave reviews.
The best thing I heard that night was somebody was just walking around looking out the decor. Was like, I feel like I'm in love and hip hop.
Oh my God. It was a good time. So.
Yeah, I had a client call me for her wedding, but she said one of her friends was just driving downtown and she happened to just walk into the wedding.
Yeah, we had a few of those.
And I'm like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. And she said the pictures online doesn't do justice.
Yeah, so yes, all of that decor, the video that you saw, that... Mm-hmm. Thank you to Shaneia. So we're so excited to have you today.
Thank you.
So we all give people a chance to introduce themselves and share their stories from obviously your perspective. So if you could introduce us to who Shaneia is, and then also tell us more about MPQ and what you offer.
Mm-hmm. So I started MPQ, I want to say about 7 years ago. And we offer wedding planning, wedding design services, as well as we do social and corporate events. So if someone's having a baby shower, birthday party, we can handle that. And even, any type of company party or gala. The reason I started MPQ was that I've always had a knack for being creative and designing. But for me, it's been a journey of what started out as a journey of trying to figure out, where do I fit in? Where do I place this? So for a while, it took me a minute to get to, okay, I want to design events. I want to plan. At first, I thought like, okay, maybe I should go into fashion. I like fashion and style. Listen, I started taking these fashion classes. And you talking about sewing, drawing. I was like, this is not my thing. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And so I lived in California for a period of time. And I started to put on these events for these companies to drive traffic to their brand. Because at that time, social media started to get really big. So it was pretty much bringing bloggers and influencers out to drive traffic to their brand and just create a buzz. And the turnout was so great. And I was like, I kind of like this event thing. So that's when I finally came back to Michigan. I got with my mom and I'm like, you're always throwing these fabulous parties for my brothers. And I was like, let's start, an event planning business. So at first it was literally a hobby. It was, when I tell you we started from the bottom, we started from literally started from my mom's basement. and we were just doing stuff, and then for me, it's always about mindset and just being willing to learn. So we started, talking to people locally that was actually in event planning and design. And we started taking workshops and courses and just started to learn and work on our craft. And that's pretty much kind of how I've gotten where I am now, is just putting in the work.
Nice. In terms of, your style to me is so unique and signature when you look at different designers like across social media. Because we talked about this. I use social media for most of our vendors just in terms of finding them. And of course, when I came across you, I was like, oh no, her, we want to do her. So, how did you kind of craft, or do you even see it? Do you see the uniqueness in how you design things versus like maybe another, designer coordinator? Do you see the uniqueness in how you do things? Because to me, it's very distinct. Like when I look at something, I'm like, oh, she did that.
I think it's natural. It's like so I don't really see it, but what I do see is that if I look at other decorators locally, I may say, okay, I do love the way my team focus on polishing and making sure things are neat. So those are the things that I do look at, or even the details, but I don't necessarily know or can describe, I don't know, because it's like a natural thing. Yeah,
it's just part of your process.
Yeah, it's not something that I've tried to sit around and build. Okay, I want my style to be like this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna take this from this person. It's just a natural instinct.
Nice.
And one thing that I will say is that throughout the process and working with you, I used to tell Amanda, I could see the visionary. I understood where you were trying to go with things, even though I didn't fully understand everything that we would talk about in detail. It could have something to do with me being a man. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't me understanding, but I was like, I trusted the vision because I'm like, she know what she's doing. She know where she's going with it. I don't have to worry about it or try to nitpick. I'm like, I know it's going to turn out because the way that you kind of broke down the steps of we can do this, or maybe we can tweak this, do that. I was like, yeah, she got the vision. She got the glow, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I think a part of it is just planning, just planning and just being prepared. I don't know how many times I went to your venue. I probably could have went to Eastern Market
about 4 times. At least. Because I talked to you a couple times. You was like, yeah, I was just up there yesterday. I was like, oh, okay.
I think that your venue was, I would say the space was very challenging.
Yeah.
Because, first, we're working with a space that doesn't have any tables, doesn't have any chairs.
Nothing. It was build a reception.
It's literally a shed. It's called Shed 5, and it's literally a
That's
shed.
What you
that
get.
Is all you get.
The shed and electricity.
The space was huge. It was massive. So it was how do we turn this into, we'll still keep that aesthetic, the warehouse feel, but still give it a reception vibe or feel. When guests are walking in, they're like, okay, I'm in a reception. I'm not just under a shed.
Yes.
So it was, and then it took a lot of something as simple as just measurements. Just knowing where to place this and where to place this, how far out to go, because we just didn't want to leave a lot of empty space. Because it would make it look look more empty.
Yes. And it felt very intimate. That was some feedback that we got for as massive as it was. The way that you built the decor and the space, it felt very intimate in terms of just it's oh, I'm just sitting across from somebody. Sorry.
So I want to put a pause in the background questions for a moment, introduce you to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays. So we did some digging. We understand that you were a performing artist back in the day, a rapper, so to speak.
She what you talking about? He always start that way. I'm like, wait, that was not what we agreed to.
Like, I don't know what he's talking about. No, it's a random assortment of questions. They all about you, so you shouldn't get them wrong. And we just want you to answer each one and answer honestly.
Okay.
All right. So the most random job did you feel like you ever had?
I worked at Pizza Hut. That was actually my first job because I wanted to buy my own clothes. You know, like my mom was buying my mom was like buying my clothes. And I'm like, I don't want to wear this stuff anymore. I want to wear the stuff that my mom has always been fancy. When I tell you she's always been over the top. But like me, I feel like I'm a little bit more calmed down. I do like style, but I'm a little bit more toned down. And I'm like, these clothes, this is a lot. I'm like, I want to buy my own stuff. I want to have my own style. So it goes back to that natural instinct of style. And so I got a job working at my stepdad at the time, convinced I was too young to work. And he actually convinced the manager to let me work. And so I started working at like 15 at Pizza Hut.
Hey, you said I gotta get this cash.
So we talk about this often at how when you worked there, was it when Pizza Hut was like at its peak and it was a vibe where it was the sit down restaurant, they had the salad bar, like is that when you worked there or you worked there later on?
So yes, that's when I started working there. But the one that I worked at was actually off Livernois. And that one was kind of like a takeout type of place. We didn't have seating, but there were other ones around that had a seating area. But that's when Pizza Hut was like really good.
Right, exactly.
It
was an experience. Yeah.
We were packed.
Yeah. How do you like to spend your off days?
So it depends. So I have an 8-year-old daughter. So when I'm with my daughter, I like to find something fun for us to do. So I'm either with her or I like to just go hang out because I like to just take my mind off of things. And when I say go hang out, it may be just finding something cool to do around the city. It may just like, let's just go out of town. Anything that's new that's out, I'll like just go to, like for instance, I went to, Hush. It was like a Halloween, it was like a haunted house experience, but it was cool because it wasn't just a haunted house. Like you walk in and they have like a bar. It was like 3 different bars in there. Okay. But then they had like the scary monsters like walking around while you're getting your drinks trying to scare you. Then they had like different performers like the flamethrowers or the aerial dancers. And it was like a full out experience. So I love experiences. So I like to just go places where I'm able to gain an experience.
That's dope.
I'm noticing a theme here.
Okay. It's all about the experience. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. What's the craziest thing that you've seen at a wedding?
I've seen a cake fall.
Oh, no.
I've seen a cake fall. And the sad part about it is that it was actually she's going to kill me for this. It was my cousin's wedding. Listen.
Man.
I didn't hire the baker. You know, it was outsourced and the cake came in wrong. And I told them this cake was wrong, but they decided to still put it on display and the cake fell.
Now, when you say the cake fell, so like, is this like a couple tiers of the cake?
It could be like a 4-tier cake, 3 to 4-tier cake or so. The cake, you can tell when a cake is about to fall because it's kind of tilted. It doesn't look stable. So the cake wasn't stable. So the cake fell. My cousin was crying.
Oh, dang.
She cried throughout her wedding. And that's why I always enforce on couples. It's so important to have a professional day of coordinator to help mitigate your day because of that experience with my cousin. Like, she was crying throughout her entire wedding reception.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow. I don't know. I thought it. Yeah, that's okay. In terms of what's your favorite part about doing a wedding? What's your absolute favorite aspect?
I think my favorite aspect is probably just coming up with putting the design together
Mm-hmm.
and then also seeing the results at the end. Like actually seeing something that go from a mock-up to reality. That's my favorite part. Sometimes it's pretty amazing because sometimes the weddings turn out better than I even could have imagined myself.
Mm-hmm. That's dope.
Nice. Excuse me. Let's see. What else did I have for you? Who would you say, if you had to pick, who would you like to work with in terms of, do you have like a dream team you could assemble of people in your industry that you would like to work with if you haven't already worked with them so far?
Do you mean like local?
It could be local. It could be like global. Anybody that you may like follow or pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
That you like, man, if I had them for like a huge wedding, like we could knock it out the park.
Oh goodness. You know what? I would say it would be a lot of I would say there's actually designers that's out of state and also photographers and videographers that's out of state that I would love to, I wish. I mean, it's kind of hard to, when you live in a different state, you know, and because first of all, you have to have a client that choose these vendors.
Absolutely.
And put them together. So it's kind of like crazy. But when you think about, if you want to dream up anything, it would definitely be some of the designers that I follow online because I look at their work and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, how does it even get like this? And then you see like the photographers and the videographers, it's the way in which they capture the look. And sometimes the photographers can make it look 3 times better than what it actually looks in person. Yeah,
when they show you that, like the shot versus the photo, like setup, sometimes you like, how did you get that? Like I saw something. It was literally like them holding a shoe on a stand, but it literally looked like smoke was like flying in. So yeah, I understand.
Well, thank you for participating in Freestyle Fridays. You passed successfully, so we appreciate you engaging in the randomness of questions.
Thank you so much.
And I want to go back into learning more about you because you mentioned that you, for as long as you can remember, you've been a creative or in a creative space. I want to know, before you got into events and wedding planning and things of that nature, what was your background professionally?
I was actually working in sales. I worked in advertising sales, and I also worked in pharmaceutical sales. And that was right before, when we started this business, I was working in pharmaceutical sales. And then eventually I transitioned full-time into like event planning.
So you mentioned this, we didn't know this before, that you lived in California for a little bit. So how long were you out there, and like how did you start doing corporate events out there?
So I went out there to go to school. So I lived in San Francisco because I went to the Academy of Art University. So I studied with a lot of artists. So it was crazy because I was studying like multimedia communications and fashion journalism, but because I was working around a lot of artists who were studying like web design and studying all types of stuff, they actually taught me a lot of stuff, which fast forward, I actually use in my business now. And I didn't even take those courses. I was just around them all the time, learning from them. And then from then on, you always have to take like internships or mentorship programs, or you just have to get a job, especially in San Francisco. And so I just ended up working for a lot of like designer companies or different companies, and that's how I will go and start putting these events on for them. And then surely, like once I graduated from the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, I ended up moving to Los Angeles for a couple of years. So I lived there for a couple of years as well before moving back to Michigan.
Wow. Nice little journey there.
Is there any difference in how they do stuff out there from like an event perspective as to what is done here in Michigan? Do you see any differences between the two?
Definitely. I think that places like California, they do stuff before we do it. And it's not just in events. I feel like it's overall, even some of the stores or the shops we may have, they have it way before Michigan even gets it. So a lot of the different aesthetics or styles you see, or let's just say new sofas or new chairs, like they have access to a lot of those items before, and I noticed that, like, even when I'm looking at pictures now, I would see certain chairs and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I wish I could incorporate it into my wedding. And then I would see, like, a year later, my vendors locally will start getting it.
In terms of weddings and just overall events, what's the most challenging part of the process for you?
The most challenging, well, I would always say budget. Mm-hmm. You have to stay within the budget, right?
Yeah, we know about that. A million emails like, does this fit within the previously outlined?
So a lot of times budget, especially when you're a creative and you think big, mm-hmm. like, okay, I have to bring it down a notch. Mm-hmm. You know, I have to stay within this budget. You know, how do we get this grand look or this big look or make something look amazing, but still be able to scale it back to fit into what our client has set in terms of budget? And then also just sometimes it could even be execution. And what I mean by that is that you want to make sure everything goes as well as you envision it. And so you have to be able to work well with others. And that's like other vendors, other partners. And sometimes you may hire people and they could be doing something that's set up or while you're executing it and it's not what you wanted. Mm-hmm. And I even, on the day of your wedding, like, oh my gosh. Like, I had to step outside. I had to step outside. Like, I almost cried. I'm going to be honest. I almost cried. So, like, you know, and then especially, like, when you're really passionate and I'm like, it has to go right.
Yeah.
So, that could be, like, the challenging times.
Mm-hmm. That's legit. That's legit. No, I can see real. That. Yeah.
That's real. And as far as the budget conversation, I had thought about, like, one of the suggestions you had made to us was having a butler at the wedding, which was super dope. We had a butler at our wedding.
He did.
He was dope. He was great. And he probably was like, man, this is an easy job because we didn't ask for a lot or needed a whole lot from our perspective. But he was like, all right, well, I'm going to figure out how to dive in.
He was helping out wherever.
Yeah. And it was a whole situation about, so we had made sure that the alcohol, liquor got delivered to the venue in the morning way before the wedding. And then at some point in time, people couldn't figure out where the
juice was.
Yeah, the juice was.
We was like...
And then so the butler disappeared for maybe about 45 minutes to an hour or something like that. He came back like, y'all figured out where the juice was. Yeah, he found
everybody else had gave up.
It was behind the Drake.
He literally came, he had him in his hand. He was like, what you need?
Yeah. Shout out to the butler. That was an amazing suggestion to have him there.
Yeah, Greg the butler.
Yes, thank you, Greg. We appreciate you for your services.
And he had changed out of his butler attire at the end of the night with his street clothes. Like, y'all need anything else? We're like, we good, bro.
Literally, to the point we got in. I think when we were leaving, he was still there. Like, y'all need anything? He was like, thank you.
Right, yeah. No,
Greg is awesome.
He is. He's amazing.
He did the thing. So, yeah, we appreciate him for sure.
And one of the things that I learned in terms of working with you, because it's like, you know, certain things that you need, but like the details, like you keep people on point with the details. And I think that's so important in terms of the day of. Like, I remember one of the conversations I remember us going back and forth about, and you had to just like change my perspective. We were talking about those tables and where we were going to sit the food. Oh man, we had
the buffet?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because again, we only had a certain amount of space that actually worked for that based on how, you know, our venue was built. But it came together.
It worked out perfectly.
And yes, shout out to you. Because I was like, I just don't know. And I remember at one point, I think I asked you, I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. You was like, well, look, we could just shift everything. I was like, that sounds great.
Yes, because one thing I always try to keep in mind is like pictures.
Yes.
Because I feel like this is your big day. You really only have one opportunity of getting really nice pictures. And so when photographers and videographers are taking pictures, they're only going to be able to crop so much. So if you have a lot of things that are not aesthetically pleasing in the way, the pictures aren't going to come out as well, and you'll regret it afterwards. But you won't see it
until
it'll be too late.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for keeping us on point with that, because it definitely, you created a moment up there, and I would have hated to have interrupted that with some buffet tables.
Exactly.
Thank you much.
So speaking of that, and keeping in mind the decor, the scenery, the aesthetics, all those good things, one thing that I know that you have been big on from a creative perspective and like branding and marketing is social media, and like putting effort into the type of videos and content that you put out there to show people your work and what you do. So I just wanted to pick your brain about how do you go about evaluating what type of content to develop and put out there. Like, how do you assemble like the team to put that together, and like what is your process for anybody who might be listening and like, well, how can I step up my social media presence and my social media game?
So I actually hired a professional photographer and content creator, and they come out to like my weddings and my events, and they actually get the footage. So a lot of times the clients will have their own videographer and their own photographer, and I think that some designers or decorators rely on that, and not, or they just may use their own phone, and they don't rely, or they may not want to invest or spend the money on having their own team. But the reason I do it is because it's a part of the business. You know, it's a part of your advertising and your marketing. And I feel like iPhone is great, but it only takes you so much. It only takes you so far. And also it's different when you have, because it's so much to run a business, and now you're trying to put all these clips together and do all this. When you actually have someone that can come in and capture the moments, put together your reel for you, and just give it to you, you just have to post it. Like, it's a breath of fresh air. So what I've done was I actually hired someone I have two girls that actually does that for me. And that's the best thing that I've ever could have done. But for me, I do a lot of the editing. So they send me a lot of the raw clips. They send me a lot of the, like the pictures, and I go through and choose what I actually want to post. And the way I make that decision is based on like, what do I want to show? I don't have to show everything. Like, what am I selling? What do I want people to actually see? What's available for their event?
Nice.
What I really like is the behind the scenes that you do, and you kind of like break down, well, this is why we did this is how this all comes together, and like being able to give insights as to what went behind the actual design of things.
And I thought it was dope to be able to see some of the process, because clearly we weren't there that day.
Right.
But I love being able to see kind of like what that looked like in terms of like setting up that day.
Oh,
So
damn, there's that many people there.
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
it was a team.
it was like a full production. A full production.
In terms of building your team, how have you, built like your suppliers in terms of some of the, you know, like the ceiling designs, or who you like get your chairs and things from, as well as how have you built your team for actual execution of the day of, in terms of actual setup and things like that? Like, what has that process been like for you?
That's something that I've done over the years. So when I'm looking for vendors, I look for, like, for instance, the florists that I'm going to work with, or like even anyone that does like ceiling installations or drapery. I always look for people that have like a similar style as me. So I can look at a florist's work and I'm like, it's not like, the flowers are not big enough, or it doesn't have like a flair to it. And then I look at some florists and I'm like, that's it. Like, I have to work with them. So typically during the off season is when I will reach out to them and kind of talk to them about upcoming events. And then I always make sure that their budget aligns with my current clientele's budget. That's something that's like very important, because it's like, if you know, like, they're charging a certain amount of money and you don't have the clientele for that, like, why bring them on as a vendor? It's pointless. So that's pretty much how I've done it over the years. But one thing that's very important is to build relationships with your vendors and not just see them as somebody that's coming and doing work for you. So even if it's a vendor that I haven't worked with in a long time, I always just check in on them and just keep an open relationship with them. And a lot of times, like, my vendors like go hard for me. So I, like, even during your wedding, like, I was just so happy because like one of my vendors actually like helped. Like, help when it was a point where I was like about to be in tears, and like he went back to his warehouse, got some more drapes and pipes and like all this stuff, and came back for me, and he just made that front area just so beautiful, and I was just so happy. So like they really like just whatever you need. So but that comes along with building relationships over time.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you, because you do the designing, you also do wedding planning, and do you do coordination as well?
I have a coordinator that works with us, because I feel like I can't do all.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, I don't feel like I can, because I want to be able to pay attention on the day of to make sure the design process is going well. But throughout the 12 months, I can do the planning. But on the day of, I have a coordinator to take over.
Gotcha. Because I was going to ask you, do you feel that it's easy? Is it more challenging doing the planning and like going through the entire process, or just doing the design and then coming and being a part of a team that you may have not necessarily assembled?
It depends on the team.
Okay.
So, for example, for your particular wedding, those vendors I've worked with. So for the most part, I've had relationships with them in the past. So I knew them all. And that wasn't a challenge at all. Like I know how they work. So from the moment they walk into the room, I know what they expect. I know what they're trying to do. I know what they need. When it's the first look, they always look to me to give them that cue. Like we just work well together. It flows. There has been weddings or events where the client wanted to bring their own team in, and I don't know them, and I don't know how they work. And I'm just like, this is hard, because I'm here for this particular event to just decorate, and you're asking me for all of this, and I'm extra like, stuff. I don't even know this is too much.
Yeah.
But then in terms of planning for like 12 months, a lot of times when I plan a client's wedding for 12 months, they will go with my preferred vendors. It may just be one or two that they go with of their own, but for the most part, it's my preferred vendors. So that's never really an issue. But I do notice a lot of clients that go with the full 12 months of planning, coordination, and design. They tend to have a less stressful experience, only because it's almost like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
So you know how when you have to go to several different people and talk to several different people, you're dealing with all these different personalities, and it's like, oh, this is a lot. Versus if you went through one person, you only have to deal with this one person the entire time, and this person is going to handle everything for you.
Yeah, so, it's different. That's for sure. You meet a lot of people in the wedding planning process.
Oh,
and you're just like, this is a lot. Now I have to call this person, call this, and then you're still trying to maintain yourself and not be so stressed out. So I would say that would probably be the biggest difference.
Okay.
How do you go about working with new vendors? Do people seek you out? Do you seek them out sometimes? Is it a mixture of both?
I think it's a mixture of both. I have a lot of vendors that contact me, and then immediately if they contact me and I'm taking a look at their work, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to work with this person for sure. Let's think of something to do. And then
how do you tell people no?
I don't. Maybe. I'll let you know. Yeah. I'll let you know. Yeah,
I keep your mind.
Because I don't know if it's ever a no.
Right.
It may just be like, I don't need you at this particular time, but maybe next year or the year after, I may need you, you know? So it could be something like that. So I think it's just the vice versa. I reach out to some people, they reach out to me. Social media is a really good platform for that, without having to, because I think in the past, you probably needed to go to a lot of networking events or Google people to kind of figure out. But when you're seeing them come up in your feed on social media, it's way easier to come in contact with vendors.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure. In terms of the wedding planning process or the preparation process, what's the earliest you've ever had a bride reach out to you in terms of prepping for a wedding?
2 years prior.
Okay.
Were they engaged?
I guess. I've had
somebody have heard the story. That's all I'm gonna say on that one.
Well, I've had clients say, well, we will be getting engaged soon. So we want to...
They want to start the budget
and see what the pricing is going to be.
Yeah.
So typically it could have been 2 years before. 1 year prior to the wedding is sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Dope. As far as what you're currently offering, what you do, is there anything that you're looking to expand into in the future that you might want to dig into, like a aspect of the business that you haven't done quite yet?
I want to expand more into corporate events. Yes. So doing more creative corporate events. That's something that I haven't, we've taken on a few corporate events, but that's something where I've just kind of left open, and it's definitely an area in which I want to do more of.
As somebody who works for like a Fortune 500 company, they need you. I'll let you know that right now, because some of these events don't be having no flavor. They just show up, food be bad, like decor. There is no decor. Like they need you.
Really?
In short, yeah.
Oh wow.
Sure.
Okay, that's great to know.
So make those connections ASAP.
Okay, thank you so much.
In terms of your business, you also have an academy. Is that correct for design?
Yes.
How does that work, and what does that look like for you?
So I actually wrote an ebook. It's a digital ebook, and it's available on Amazon right now. And it talks about pretty much the steps to building a successful event planning and design business. One of the main subjects that I talk about is planning, having a process, and being prepared. And just being willing to learn. You know, sometimes people start their business and they feel like they know it all. I don't need to learn anything else. I'm just going to keep going. Or they just don't see the value in investing in themselves. So they continue to stay stagnant and do what they're doing because they didn't want to invest into a workshop or a course to learn more. Mm-hmm. And I also offer courses in which I typically will do like more in the winter months when we're slow. And they're typically like online courses, and I can also do like one-on-one mentorship programs as well. I always try to have stuff like that available. Anyone that, is looking to start their business or wants some sort of advice or feedback.
That's very cool.
And if I'm not mistaken, is your mom your business partner?
Yeah, so my mom, we started out together, and then my mom branched off. So one of the aspects of the business that she loves drapery. Okay. So she branched off, and now her focus is like doing she do drapery for a lot of the local decorators and designers in the area. So that's her main focus. So a lot of times she does drapery for us. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. It just depends. But she's always there at setup with me. And she's like, whenever I'm trying, like she's good with like colors. So whenever I'm trying to coordinate colors, I always call her because like she can put colors together. So she's like still there for like advice and like business wise, and then also like drapery is her thing.
I was going to ask what it's like operating in the sense of, because it's essentially a family business. So I was wondering, like, what is that dynamic like in working with your mom? Granted that, she has that eye that you just mentioned for certain things. I
think that it's been a journey. Because it's been a lot of growth, just trying to figure out where we even fit in the industry, and just learning what our niche is. And like I said, she learned that what she enjoyed most was doing drapery. And so what I did was it took some pushing. You know how moms are like, or parents in general, they're really stubborn.
Yes.
So like, I was like, I actually came up with this logo for her, like Sean's Drapery, and like, okay, well, here's a business for you. Here's your logo. Here's everything. This is what you're gonna do. This is what it's gonna be. This is what it's gonna be. Here's your social media. Okay, and so like, all the decorators in the areas, I'm like, there's a market for this because. there's a lot of decorators, designers in the area who do not want to invest in buying pipes and drapes, you know, but they definitely need this.
Yep.
You know, they need it in terms of their events, even if it's just a backdrop. I said the business is there and I'm seeing it. So I'm like, that's business for you. And so now, like, she's doing awesome. Like she's even working during the week. Like she stayed booked them and she's excited about it. She's like so happy. Like in the beginning she was like, I don't want to do this. But like she loves it.
That's dope.
I love that for her. That's huge.
Yeah, that's super dope.
Nice. So in terms of MPQ, where do you see MPQ going in the future and how do you plan to expand?
So in the future, like I said, I want to start focusing more on like bigger special events, corporate events, and definitely weddings. That's more of like the future. Like I really want to do like really large special events that comes to like the Metro Detroit area.
So more like, say like the NFL draft is coming, you want to do stuff with like them.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Might make something shake. Might make it happen.
That would be amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely like expanding in that direction.
Got you.
If you're in the league, hit up Shaneia, holler at MPQ.
Yes.
Make sure that y'all tap in. So for the good people that would want to utilize your services in the future, some people are aspiring to get married and we're utilizing you for an event, those corporate events we just talked about. What's your website, your social media handles, all that good info that the people can get in contact with you?
Yes, so our website is MPQ events.com. On our contact us page, you can just schedule a consultation. And our Instagram handle and Facebook handle is MPQ events.
Nice, very nice. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the podcast today. If we had to do an interview, we had to make sure that we had you on here because it was so essential to the overall process
Absolutely.
of us curating the wedding. So we
Yeah.
definitely appreciate the work that you did with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love this. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Again,
Absolutely.
thank you for the experience. We've gotten nothing but positive and amazing feedback. So
I'm so
it's
happy
been
to
a
hear
great
that.
time. So yeah.
Rich, random, before we wrap up, you work with any celebrities or any upper echelon folks
So locally,
that you can disclose?
well, we have worked with some locally, like for instance, some rappers locally. I would say that.
Okay.
I would say that.
Alright.
Some
Fair
local
enough.
rappers, yes. We have done some of their events, like baby showers and birthday parties.
Nice.
Well, everybody watching, we appreciate y'all tapping in and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.